announcement has been paid for by the new Howl Order.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, this one is cut and dry. I've put in as minimal amount of work possible for this week's game because that's how I'm feeling. That's the energy, that's the vibe that this matchup between the 2-8 Giants and the 4-6 Washington Commanders is giving off, okay? And as far as I'm concerned, as a fan base, we deserve a blowout victory. I'm going to just keep it as simple as that. Like, this whole fighting against a 2-8 Giants team with Tommy DeVito at quarterback, that's not the move here. Like, I don't want to eke by in a 17-10 or a 17-13 victory. Like, Vegas, it almost scares me, to be honest with you, that we're 9.5-point favorites. That almost scares me. But it's just indicative of how bad the Giants truly are, that Vegas looks at us as a 4-6 team and says, you're almost a touchdown and field goal better than the Giants right now. And that's how bad they are. So, you know what? For once, could you just humor us as fans? Could you just bless us? It's the season of giving. It's Thanksgiving weekend that we're heading into. Could you just please give us an easy, stress-free dub, start to finish, beat up the Giants like we're supposed to? We were better than them the first time. We lost. We are better than them now. Can we just do what everybody else is doing to them? The Raiders beat them 30-6. The Cowboys beat them 49-17 or whatever the score. Can we just do what everybody else is doing? Does everything have to be hard? I'm not looking for a tough, battle it out, grueling, to the bitter end victory here. Okay? That's not what I'm looking for. I want to be able to look at other games confidently and not have to be locked in to a close ball game with Tommy DeVito at quarterback. The Giants stink. They're one of the worst teams in football. Treat them as so, get the win, and let's get ready for Thanksgiving. We don't need to be struggling with these boys. You know what would be really nice? You know what would be really beneficial? Is if we could get some of the starters out early because we got a quick turnaround Thursday game against the Dallas Cowboys. It would be very advantageous to get these boys out after 3 quarters of quality work in a 34-3 ball game and just let them relax so they can get their bodies prepared for a quick turnaround in a Thursday game against the Dallas Cowboys. We know that's too much like right with this group, right? That's not happening. But can I not dream? Dream. Can I just not dream? Hey, look, don't wake me up till my dream is complete. Yes, I'm dreaming. I know that's not going to happen. But we deserve it. Throw us a bone, man. Just give us one. We know we probably won't have another one of these opportunities the remainder of the season. Just give us one, man. Just one. That's all we're asking for. Just give us one. One blowout victory. One that we don't have to use the defibrillator on at the end of the game to bring us back to life to enjoy the victory. We were dead. We had to resuscitate, right? Come back to life to enjoy a 3-point victory. Let's not have that be the case this week. Let's roll these boys. What do you say? One time for the one time on the way out, Ronald. One time for the one time. Okay? One time for the one time, Ronald. Jahan Dotson said, I've never beaten the Giants. One time for the one time. Brian Robinson, I've never beaten the Giants. One time for the one time. Let's just do it one time for the fellas before you go. For old time's sakes. Just for old time's sake. In other news, we had a hell of a presser from Ronald on a Friday. Kind of one of those self-reflecting, very honest, conversations from Ronald. We'll get to that conversation that he had with the media today, roughly 12 minutes and some change. But before we do that, you know what we do here on the Commanders Nightly News program, especially on a Friday heading into Sunday's action. Final look at the Week 11 injury report for both teams. We start with the good guys. And no surprises here other than the disappointment of Antonio Gibson. Alex Arma out with the hamstring. We pretty much said that from a Wednesday's practice. We said, okay, that's not good. Anytime you have a hamstring, you're pretty much out. James Smith-Williams, we knew he was out, and Ronald already told us that it's not just this week. It's going to be for a while. They're worried about his hamstring. I told you, I don't expect him back until post-bye, if at all, right? So no surprises there. Antonio Gibson with the toe was the one that we were hoping would come along during the course of the week. We've seen him deal with toe injuries before and gut through it. We've also seen him miss games with the toe injury. 2020 is the best example of that. It looks like we're heading for that again, right? Did not practice on Friday and is doubtful. He is not out yet, but the likelihood is he's going to miss this game. He's doubtful. Ronald already talked about options that they've put in place to replace him should he not be able to play. Doesn't sound like he's going to be able to go with the toe. They said it's kind of like Curtis Samuel's toe. Remember, he missed one game. That was the Patriots game. He missed the Patriots game, and then he was back for Seattle, right? Believe that was the case. Or was it the week prior to that against Philadelphia? Pretty sure he missed the Patriots game, and then he was back for Seattle. But nonetheless, or it might have been he missed the he tried to play against the Eagles. He missed the Patriots. That's kind of how I feel it was. He tried to play against the Eagles. He didn't finish. He didn't play the Patriots game, and then he came back and he played against the Seahawks. That's what it feels like. I could be wrong there, but he did miss a game. We do know that. I think that's going to be the same thing for Antonio Gibson. And Ronald did say that the preparation is to have him be ready. Hopefully Alex Arma as well. They're not sure. Again, we're dealing with a hamstring, but the preparation is to have those guys ready for Thursday, that quick turnaround. So not pushing them here, but having them be ready for the quick turnaround on Thanksgiving against Dallas. So we'll see what happens there. Everybody else is good. Benjamin St. Juste was full yesterday, full again today. He's going to play. Curtis Samuel was limited all week, full today. He's going to play. Tyler Larson was only on the injury report because of a vet rest day. And so he's good to go as well. So again, nothing serious here, major, other than Antonio Gibson. Alex Arma sucks because that's a part of the run game that we want to see more of, not less. You take him out of the lineup for a week or two, and EB might forget that we even have a fullback on the roster, and we may not get any more under center runs, specifically with the fullback. But again, I digress. Excuse me. Let's go to the Giants side of things before we skedaddle. And I told you this earlier in the week. This is a lot of nothing. Anytime you see an injury report this big, it's usually, look, they got to list the guys that have anything, and that's what they're doing, but these guys are going to play. The only two guys that are going to be out of this game are Evan Neal and Adoree Jackson. Everybody else is going to play. You don't really need to focus in on anything. Evan Neal, Adoree Jackson, two starters, two guys that are key contributors for the Giants. But at this point, the Giants suck. Even if they had their whole roster available, they stink. Take care of business, okay? I said this yesterday. I don't care who does or doesn't play. Just go out and get it done, okay? That's the name of the game. Figure it out. Hopefully, they'll be able to do that against a 2-8 Giants team that beat them once already. You need to get some get back. So make it happen, all right? So let's talk about what Ronald had to say today, because that was pretty interesting, right? So he started off talking about, the injuries. Obviously, Antonio Gibson was the biggest one of note, and he said it's kind of looking doubtful for him right now. They're treating him like how they did with Curtis's toe. Don't really want to push it. Curtis, as I mentioned, sat out one game and then came back the following week. And I was talking about Curtis missing significant time, like 2-3 games, and Curtis only missed one. And they're hoping the same thing for Antonio. Now, it's a little different because Curtis didn't have to try to rush back for a quick turnaround the following week after he missed a game on a Thursday. He had all week to get ready, to practice, to feel the toe out, to see if it was good, and then play on a Sunday. This is different. It's a Thursday, but we'll see what happens. So he talked about that. He talked about, some of the other injuries. Alex Armour in particular, and he said, he talked about the other tight end that's going to get an opportunity, Curtis Hodges, and what Alex Armour brings, what we're going to miss with him not being out there, and what Curtis Hodges brings with him being active on Sunday potentially. So, or it might be Cole Turner. Yeah, that's more likely than not. It'll probably be Cole Turner. Excuse me. But in any event, he talked about this season and how tough it's been, and he then expanded, right? And he talked about just the overall picture right now. The perception is he's done after this year. That perception is more likely reality, but he can't deal in that reality right now. He has to deal with what is right now in front of him, and that's they got a game on Sunday, then another one on Thursday, and then another one the Sunday following after the Sunday that comes after the Thursday, and then they got a bye week. And then, I mean, if you're Ronald, you can't look any further past this upcoming game against the Giants. You just got to take them one at a time, because if you try to think about it in any context other than that, it's not going to end well for you, because everything outside of the next game seems like you're fired, right? If you start looking at the bye, you could be fired by the bye week. You start looking at the end of the season, you're probably fired after the season. So he doesn't need to focus in on any of that stuff. Just focus in on the task at hand, which is the Giants, and try to fight your way back to 500. You had a chance to do it last week. You dropped the ball there. Now you got another chance to, get closer to 500 again, because, again, you can't have a conversation about the postseason, and he talked about making the playoffs. You can't have a real conversation about making the playoffs if you don't have a record that is at least at 500. You're not allowed to have conversations using the P word if you're not at 500 or better. So that's the first order of business. And you can't get back to 500 without beating the Giants and getting one step closer, and then having an opportunity on Thanksgiving against Dallas, the first time you've seen them all season, to maybe get back to 500. But you got to take care of the Giants first. But he talked about everything from a much wider lens. He actually took a step back and took a look at his situation from a macro approach versus the micro approach of, hey, we got a game this week. That's what I'm focused on, one game at a time. He literally said, these last 3.5 years have been hell. And anybody that thinks it's been easy can kiss my ass, essentially, is what he said. And so he kind of got really introspective. He was like, look, I've been through this before. This is not new to me. I don't know what Mr. Harris is thinking about doing after the season's over. I'm not looking to fire anybody. I'm not looking to point the blame at anybody. We're going to figure this thing out with the guys that we have. And if we can't, and they don't think we've done a good enough job, then, they do what they have to do. But, all we can do is continue to prepare, get our guys ready. And he said, look, the bottom line is, when it's all said and done, 2 things I've done here. And I set out to do this. And this is when I kind of go, you were doing so well, and then you kind of veered off here. And this is where you made that sharp right turn, and I went left. Like, yeah, I was in the car with you. And I was like, hey, stop, let me out. You're going in the wrong direction. I'm going to go this way, buddy. And so he was like, yep, I got here, and there were 2 things that I needed to do: change the culture, find a quarterback. I've done both of those things. Nobody ever hires a coach and says, hey, you just don't worry about winning. Just change the culture and we'll be fine. Okay? That was one of the key things he was brought here to do. I'm not dismissing that. I've said this numerous times. Ronald was brought here to help shift the perception of what it means to be a member of the Washington, then Redskins, then football team, now Commanders. He was brought here to give us a face that people didn't want to punch, right? Because before, it was Daniel Snyder and Bruce Allen, and all you wanted to do was pummel those faces. And so it was easy to hate Washington. But then they changed the name, so that was a lot of reasons. That was one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people hated us. That and Dan Snyder is a jerk, right? One of the, just not a good human being. And so it was easy to hate us because of Dan, right? And then the name made it easy for other people who were looking for an excuse. So you take away the name, and now what? You just got Dan Snyder, and you got in Bruce Allen. You remove Bruce, can't get rid of Dan yet, or at least at that time we didn't think it was coming. And so you needed to put a face out there that people respected, that they could say, hey, all right, man, you're no longer the Redskins. You got Ron Rivera. He's out in front of this thing. All right, I'll give you a shot. I'm not going to hate you as much as I have over the last 5 to 7 years. And so he slowly but surely, brick by brick, changed the perception of what it meant when you heard Washington, whatever, football team, Commanders. He changed the perception of that, whether you want to give him credit for that or not. This roster is better. It's not great, but it's better. But again, that's a low bar. When he got here, we had one of the worst rosters in football. So again, that's a low bar. I get it. Understandably so, the roster's better though. It just acknowledge that. So he's done some good things, but ultimately when you're brought into a situation, even if it's as toxic as this one was when he got here and he had to deal with a lot of off the field foolishness during his tenure. And this is the first year he's been able to really just focus in on coaching, which makes it even more disappointing that we haven't been able to win because the distractions have been removed. All you had to do was focus on ball. This is the first year since you got here, you've been able to just solely focus on ball. And you still didn't get it done. And it's still the same. So while I understand you were brought here to change the culture, and you did that, check. You were brought here to find a quarterback. It took you 4 years, right? And you kind of fell into that. Let's be honest. You wanted to start Taylor Heineke in week 18 last year, and Heineke was like, nah, I'm good, bro. Start Sam. You kind of fell into that. Now, you didn't have to lean all the way in. You could have said, oh, the week 18 start was cool, but I'm still looking for a guy, right? You didn't have to lean all the way into Sam, but you did, to your credit, right? And you're riding that and you're milking that as you should, because that's the only viable thing you've got left to keep your job, is essentially saying, hey, I found the quarterback. I stuck with him when everybody told me I was tripping for trying to start a 5th round quarterback. And now look at him. Give me a shot to see this thing through. That's what Ron has to sell to the group. That's what he should be. And that's what he's been selling all year. Why do you think he keeps saying it's all about the development of the quarterback? That's his angle to stick around. It's not going to work, but that's the angle he's going with. I don't blame him. That's the only thing he can hold on to because he's not winning, which is why I had to get out of the vehicle when he was talking some good shit. And I was like, hey, I'm going to turn the radio down so we can hear you talk some more. And then he started talking crazy and I turned the radio up. Before I did, I said, hey, Ron, stop right here. There's a fork in the road. I can see you going in the wrong direction. Let me out. I'm going to turn the radio back up. And then I'm going to go ahead and we can go our separate ways. And when he started talking about I did what I was supposed to do, so you weren't supposed to win. You were just supposed to change the culture and find the quarterback, and that was it. Gotcha. All right, somebody get me out of here. So that's where I kind of say, all right, Ron, you were doing so well, and then you had to go and mess it up. But I get it. But he essentially was like, look, man, I can't control what happens. You know, all we can do is keep playing hard. I'm not going to point the finger at anybody. I'm not looking to fire anybody because essentially he was, with that answer, he was talking to people that want Jack Del Rio fired. I'm not firing anybody. I'm not getting rid of anybody. You know, I'm not changing my quarterback, which I'm like, hey, nobody's asked you to do that. Like, you don't have to, like, this isn't a time where you bring the quarterback into this. Nobody's asking you to change the offensive coordinator or the quarterback. Leave them out of this. But he didn't bring up Jack because that's the guy we're talking about. But anyway, he's like, we're not making any changes. We're going to ride this thing out. We're going to still try to make the playoffs, right? One game at a time. And then he gets into this any given Sunday spiel. And he's like, I read a book. And, you know, the first time I really gave that a lot of thought was 2014. And, you know, doesn't matter if you're the best team. It's the team that plays the best on that given day. And like, hey, thanks for the speech, Boomer, Ronald. Like, we get it. We've all heard. He's like, oh, you might be too young. No, we've all heard Any Given Sunday. There's actually a movie, Ronald. You might be too old to know. There's an actual movie called Any Given Sunday. But that's nor here nor there. Don't worry about it, Ronald. You just worry about beating the Giants and beating them thoroughly this Sunday. That's what you focus in on. Like I said, he talked about his mortality as a coach for the first time this year. He did it last year towards the end of the season, and he did it again here. It's always refreshing when somebody acknowledges the elephant in the room because really, we dance around that. The media doesn't want to be ignorant and just, attack. That's not what you're looking to do. Ronald's a nice guy, so you don't really want to embarrass him. But he got to it himself today. The question kind of led him in that direction, and then it almost as if he was waiting for someone to ask him so he could spill his guts. We know Ronald loves to talk. So, good for him. At least he understands what's at hand, right? He's going to be fired. He can't say that, but he knows. You're 4-6. You needed to win this year. This was an audition. He knew that. The minute Daniel Snyder was gone and Josh Harris and that group came in, he was on the clock and he was auditioning for his job. I would tell you right now, 4-6 through 10 weeks of football heading into week 11 isn't good enough. In a year where the 7 seed is wide open and you could have been right in the mix and you should be 6-4, no worse than 6-4, probably 7-3 right now. Maybe even 8-2 if you could find a way to beat Philadelphia. I mean, the opportunities were there. Seattle, the Bears, the Giants, and just take one of the Philadelphia games. But obviously, not able to do that. Now you sit at 4-6, not good enough. But like he said, there's 7 games left. Anything can happen. We all know the truth. Anything can happen, but it won't happen because it doesn't happen with this organization. So there's that. Anyway, let's get to the game plan. Look, I'm not going to talk your head off, man. All right. There's no real game plan. I told you, I've put in minimal effort this week because it's the Giants and they're 2-8 and they don't give a shit. They're going after the number 1 pick in the draft because they got their eyes on a quarterback. They don't give 2 shits about the remainder of this season. The players do, but the coaching staff knows Daniel Jones isn't the answer. Lord knows Tommy DeVito isn't the answer. Tyrod is a backup. Let's go get our quarterback, man. Okay? So they've actually been coaching as if they're trying to lose ball games. Like, I think everybody's on board here. Hey, let's go get Caleb Williams. That's the mission at this point. So look, I say that tongue in cheek because as a coaching staff, you can't afford to lose. You can't afford to be embarrassed week in, week out because jobs are on the line when that happens too often, right? So I'm just going to say this. This isn't complex. This game plan isn't difficult to comprehend. There isn't a ton that needs to be done here. 3 things on defense, 1 thing on offense. 2 things on offense, rather. 3 things on offense, I'll say. All right? 3 things. So let's start with the offense. The 3 things on offense. 1, don't turn the football over. Don't turn the football over. Hey, don't turn the ball over against a bad team. You do that, you give life to a team that is lifeless. Number 2, be better against the blitz. You know it's coming. You saw it the first time. You didn't make adjustments to the latter stages of the 3rd quarter. You know what to do. You know what to expect. You're a better team because of what you went through in week 7. Prove it. Prove it. Destroy this blitz. Carve them up and make them pay. And number 3, touchdowns, not field goals. You want to put these boys out of their misery? Score touchdowns. I don't care where. Outside the red zone, in the red zone, doesn't matter. Put up touchdowns. They've already proven they're the worst scoring team in the league by a mile. They've already proven they can't score points. So if you want them to hang around, if you want them to think they got a shot, you want to make this interesting, kick field goals. Or don't score at all, like you did the last time. Okay? You score touchdowns, I guarantee you they can't keep up. They've proven that time and time again this season. I guarantee you they can't keep pace. Defensively, number 1, stop Saquon Barkley. The easiest way to keep them alive in this game is to let 26 gut you. Number 2, don't let the quarterback run. He sucks as a passer. Tommy DeVito has used his legs, and very effectively, I may add. Don't let him do it in critical situations, i.e. 3rd down, to extend drives. And 3, and this is probably the biggest one, because we don't get turnovers, so I'm not even going to ask for them. 3, don't give up big plays, man. Jalen Hyatt killed us with big plays the last time. Saquon Barkley got us with big plays the last time. Even Darren Waller on the touchdown grab got us with a big play. Don't give up big plays. That's been a thorn in this defense's side all season long. If you want to give a bat, the Giants came into the last game against us with like the second or third fewest, explosive plays in the league, and I think they had like 7 all season, and we gave up 5 of them to them the last time we played them. You want to lose to them? Go ahead and do it again. You want to make it interesting? Do it again. So that's the game plan in a nutshell. Like, there's not a lot here to see. We already know who they are. We know what they do. We know who we are. We know what we can and can't do. Go out and out-execute them and win this football game. Which leads me to my final outcome. All right, 27-13, good guys, get it done. I'm looking for an off week where I don't have to sweat out a dub. I'm looking to be watching, other games that are more competitive and keeping one eye on the Commanders game, but knowing that that's already in the basket. That's already in the bag. We got the dub. I don't want to have to focus in on that. I want to be able to watch 5 other games while simultaneously watching the Commanders game. I don't want to have to be locked into this game because we're over here struggling with the lowly Giants for the second time this season. Take care of business. They want the number 1 pick. Let's help them. They're not going to get it because Carolina's not winning another game, but they want it. They're chasing after it. Well, let's do our job to help them go after it. Let's get the job done. All right. Enough said. I don't need to say anything else. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. What says you? What happens in this game? Somebody gave me, if I have I don't have my mobile device. Yeah, here it is. I'm going to read this because you know what? This one, this comment, it hit my soul, and to the point where I was like, I can't unsee this. I wish I could because it's so spot on. But I really wanted to unsee this comment because, man, I feel like this is what's going to happen. Video channel 5183 wrote this beautiful gem of a comment. I don't want to speak this into existence, but if this ain't the truth, then what is? He says, the Ron Rivera game script for Sunday. I'm gonna remix this, and I'm gonna make one alteration of that. The Ronald Rivera game script for Sunday. Go up 10-0. We've seen this before. Just a couple of weeks ago against the Patriots, went up 10-0. Ready to deliver a second quarter kill shot, but turns the ball over in the red zone. There's no Antonio Gibson to facilitate that, but somebody else will pick up the slack. We've always got guys willing to step in to commit the error that allows the other team to stay in the ball game. So somebody else will step up and fill that void, right? This is him, not me. I'm not saying this, but tell me you can't see this happening. All right. He says, unable to score for the rest of the half. Sounds like the Jacksonville game last year, week 1, right? Up 14-3, ready to deliver the kill shot. Curtis Samuel fumbles. We don't score again until the 4th quarter. And come back and win the game. We've done all of this shit. This is why he can put this script together. Because we've done all of these things multiple times. We can cite sources multiple times through the Ronald Rivera era. He says, give up a third down, touchdown to make it 10-7. Go deep into the 4th with teams trading punts and 3 and outs. Joey Slye barely makes a 37-yard field goal with 2 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock. Giants drive into Washington territory but end up turning the ball over. Washington wins an uninspiring 13-7 game. Tell me you can't see that happening. All right? Tell me you can't see that exact scenario. Thank you for that video channel happening in the game. I can. I don't want to acknowledge it, but haven't we seen this movie enough times to know that that exact script exists? Now, whether Ronald pulls that script out and decides to have that play itself out on Sunday, I don't know. But we've seen that script a million times, and they're damn good at that script. A couple of awards that have been given out. They've won a couple of awards based off of that same script. Let's hope that that's not the case this week. We as a fan base deserve a blowout. Victory. Let me make sure I'm abundantly clear, because we got a blowout against the Bears. It just wasn't for us. We as a fan base deserve a blowout victory. Come on, Commanders. Deliver. Y'all know what it is. Let's roll these boys.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the